He's handled grand to me, I've handled grand to him. Woo, woo. There's police, big police wagon drives in front of the gates of the club. So then we had to find almost like another 20 grand. It's either you pay the money now or we're going to have our bailiffs come and take all the drinks behind your bar and we're just going to literally take your son. I'm like, no, well, that's not happening. What's going on, people? Are we live? Yes, we are. It's your boy Moonlight and I want to welcome you to a brand new show in which I'll be releasing so many episodes to do with business. The show's called 100K Net. What is 100K Net? What do I mean by 100K Net? It means where you've reached a stage in your life where you've made 100K profit. And if you haven't so yet, we want to get you to that stage. Also, 100K Net is a book that I'm going to be releasing, which will be out for pre-sale within the next couple of days. So I want you guys to look out for that book. So what's going to happen on these episodes? Well, I'm going to be taking questions from you guys, which are business related, in which maybe somewhere within my answers, you guys could get some quality information, maybe some little gems that you could learn from my mistakes or even learn from some of the things I've done well in order to implement them or not implement them in your business. So I got a question here. Today's question comes from Shah21. She's from Twitter and it asks, what is your biggest financial failure in business so far? And I actually got this question earlier, and there's kind of two answers with this, kind of been toying between the two. But if you're talking about obviously magnitude, the size, the biggest financial loss, I would have to, I'm going to choose one. And let me explain something first before I even go into it. The way I calculate financial loss is maybe slightly different from how you do. So one singular event, I wouldn't usually equate that to a financial loss unless I look at the end of the term, suppose it's 6 months, and I've seen, well, in the beginning you lost, but in the middle you started evening out and then breaking even, and at the end you just started winning. So that's how I usually calculate it. But for this instance, and for this example, I'm gonna have to go with Function Nightclub. Now, let me make this clear. Function Nightclub is definitely one of the most profitable businesses that I own.
Yo, feeling like I just won a lotto. TMZ caught me creeping with a model. Yeah, she's bad, but I'm never gonna come back. Might call my ex up, tell her run that. Gucci shades off, take them heels off. She ain't come to talk, and I ain't come to stand it.
But in the first 3 to 6 months, there were some issues. I wouldn't call them teething issues. They were slightly bigger than teething issues. But okay, I'll give you a bit of background. So if you don't know, I am a promoter amongst many other things, but I promote events, been doing it for 10, 15 years. I'll try throw in some clips in here as well. So I started off as a DJ, then from DJ to promoter. So the next elevation naturally would be owning a club for myself. So
I ain't spent a dime on her. I'm in Function, VIP, whining her.
How did that come along? Well, there's a guy, for reference sake, I want to keep his name safe because he's cool. So we're going to call this guy Peter. Now, Peter is a guy, good friend of mine. We've been doing business. He owns a big sound company. I own a sound company called Co Sound Hire, CO Sound Hire. It's on Instagram if you want to check it out. So we used to just do cross hiring. You know, he's handled grand to me, I've handled grand to him. So, you know, the level of trust over a number of years were built up. So he had his sound system in Function Nightclub for about 10 years. It wasn't called Function at the time, but just to say, for argument's sake, to make it easier, it was Function. So his sound was in there for 10 years. The last 5 years, there's been 10, 12 different owners. Even the landlord tried to promote in there as well, but no one lasted more than 3 months. Maybe they had one good event, maybe 2 events, but no, you know, they couldn't last the time, you know. So he's hit me up now and said that the landlord wants to sit down with you. I've told him about your events as a promoter. You're going to need a lot of cash up front. It's a huge club because if you don't know, Function is not just like a small club. It holds 1,200 people across 3 floors, right? So you got downstairs, you walk in, there's a huge reception area. You walk up 2 flights of stairs to the main room that holds about 1,000 people. And then you walk up again, in which was a smoking area, but we converted it into like an outside lounge. We extended it and put chairs there. And then we had people selling shishas and stuff like that. So you had basically 3 floors. It's a huge project. Remember, I've never been on that side of managing before. I've only done the promotion side. I've booked the venue, leave, all the run-ins of the venue, costings, all of that. Not bothered about it because I'm just booking it as a promoter. So it was a huge change. There is no there's slight crossovers between being a promoter and an owner, but I'm telling you, like, the next 6 months to a year, I had to just absorb things like a sponge. Anyway, let me get back to the story. So Peter has said, look, let's go 50-50. I think he had a feeling that I probably didn't have that sort of paper. You know, we're talking like hundreds and hundreds. You know, it's a lot of money. I not mean pounds, I mean thousands. So I think he figured that out for himself. So he was like, you know what, we'll go halves. But he said he's going to bring in his guy on his half to run it for him, and his name's Joseph. Now, Joseph has had the previous experience in nightclubs, hence the reason why he's bringing him in. So it kind of worked for me because I figured, well, you're going to go in there. You don't really know much about running a club. You've never done it before. So I can't go in there all bossing it, pretending like I know everything. So he's brought in this guy, Joseph. We've sat down, we've had a meeting. Those two have 50%. Pete and Joseph are 50% shares in the company. I've got 50%. It means I'm going to make more, but initially I'm going to put in more than both of them put together as well. So we've had the first meeting. I've transferred over the money, my 50% anyhow. Solicitors are going back and forth. It's taking a while, a couple of weeks, as you know it does when you're dealing with leases and taking over clubs and buying buildings. You know, it takes forever. So within that time, I'm overseas. Remember, I've parted with this money, and this money now for me, it's not a little bit. It's literally 90% of my liquid funds. So I'm overseas at the time. I was in Greece, and I get a call from saying, okay, we've got the keys. So I'm like, yes. I'm literally like, the way I was so excited, even thinking about it now, it was just like, my God, this is really happening. So I get a call like an hour later, bad news. I'm like, what's the bad news? He's like, well, I've gone in the club. There's no electricity whatsoever anywhere. And because there's no electricity, I've gone down to the cellar. And in the cellar, there's basically a swimming pool. So what's happened is they've got these pumps in the cellar, run by electric, obviously, so that when the water drops through, the pumps pump them back out. But the club had been empty for 5, 6, 7 months, and the water had built up. There's no electric. Obviously, that's going to destroy all the electrics when you turn the electric on. It's like, oh my God. So then we had to find almost like another 20 grand in total to get all of that sorted out. And I'm not just talking about getting it like, you know, deflooded or taking out all the water. I'm talking about replacing the electrics that were obviously burnt out. And then we had to go find the 3-phase electric big cogs. So where the previous owners had not been paying their bills prior to us coming in, literally it amounted up, racked up to bailiffs came in, and they just literally ripped out all of the electric. That was before we got there. So yeah, had to find more money. Remember, I'm already full in, yeah? And now I had to go find more money. So anyway, we get past that. You know, if you need to make things happen, you'll always find a way to make things happen. So source the additional income, that was fine. So I remember around 2 years ago, we launched Halloween night. I remember Peter had these guys from a radio station, older guys, beer drinkers. So we didn't have to spend that much on drinks. They just really just drank beers and beers and beers. It was a good chance for us to get to know the runnings of the club as well. So I thought, yeah, it's not going to be nothing heavy. They're taking the small room, and the small room holds about 200, maybe 150 people. So yeah, it's all good. So they come in, it's fine. The only issue on that night actually was right at the beginning. I'm standing at the door. I'm just like, yeah, this is really happening. And what do I hear? Woo, woo! There's police. Big police wagon drives in front of the gates of the club. And obviously, being a promoter, I'm like, fuck. They have come to lock this event off. literally they had come to lock this event off. And I'm like, fuck, I got so much money riding on this. I'm just like shitting it at that stage. So police constables come out, and he said, mate, what are you doing open? Who are you? And I said, well, we've reported to the council, we've followed all the right procedures, we've had our solicitors email over, so as far as we're concerned, everything's cool. And I've said, furthermore, I'm going to call the manager. Remember, I don't really know, this is the first time I'm dealing with them as a club owner. Tommy's given them our folder with the license, and so that's happened. The night's gone through. It's actually, for me, it was a successful night. We didn't take that much on the bar, but you know, it was successful. So the week after, it was my event. It was my birthday event. Also, I'd used it as the launch, and we was expecting around 700 people. Sitting in the office, me, Peter, Joseph, we're literally just adding up how much approximately we're going to need to spend on drinks, or what drinks we're going to need. So obviously we need the champagnes, we're going to need the vodkas, going to need the wines, you know, you're going to need all of that stuff, the chasers, going to need some more ice buckets, load of ice, had to order an ice machine, you know, so it's all of that sort of stuff, because this is like the real launch now. More freezers, more fridges, sorry. So we've got an estimate back from a company, and it's come to like £17,000. I've gone through it, it looks legit. I've given my 50% of that. So say it was like 8.5. So I've given him my 50% of that, and drinks have come, no issues, had the event, fine, right? Next week's come again, we needed a top up, not a big one. So that came to about 8 grand. And then, so I'm paying my 50%. So if you can imagine the amounts accumulated over, a space of maybe 2 months, I've spent maybe about 25,000 in total. If you're doing a project, which is not just a quick turnover, a quick, let me make a quick little change. Usually you won't be taking payments after every event, especially with clubs. You usually have like a period of 3 to 6 months, usually probably about 4, in which you would let the money accumulate, pay the bills. You would sit down with the accountant after 4 months, and you'll go through all the net profits. And then if you want to take dividends from the company, you can do that after, but we won't get into all of that now. So all that's happened. We're like 6 weeks in, and every Monday we would have a little catch-up meeting between the three of us, the 3 shareholders. That's Joseph and Peter, 50%, and myself. So this Monday comes, and I turn up, and Peter's there, but there's no Joseph. So I didn't really think nothing of it. I just thought, well, maybe he's just got caught up, because we all had different businesses as well. You can't just rely on one source of income. We all had different businesses. So I just thought he was caught up. But then the next Monday came, and I ain't spoke to him for the whole week. Peter ain't heard from him. So now I'm starting to say, I'm confused, because motive-wise, I'm thinking, well, if you leave, you're just not going to get your 25% that you share with Peter. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just carry on. So it's the Friday night. We got an event. I open the back doors just to go to my car, and there's 2 guys standing there. Literally 2 guys, folders in hand, wearing a suit, and just literally standing there like. And as I opened it, it kind of startled me a little bit. So I've kind of looked back, and I'm like, can I help you? And they're like, well, yeah, we're looking at Joseph, the owner. I was like, well, he's not here. What's it about? They're like, mate, you've got a big bill that we've been trying to call Joseph for months. No, well, not months, for weeks. And there's just been no answer. There's been no correspondence between you guys. So it's either you pay the money now, or we're going to have our bailiffs come and take all the drinks behind your bar, and we're just going to literally take your son. I'm like, no, well, that's not happening. So I'm saying to them, look, just come in, sit down in the office, just explain to me what's going on. So it comes out that Joseph had not been paying any of the drink bills since we started. So how that works is you sign up as a company. As long as the company's got a good reputation, they can check on Companies House, you ain't got no big outstanding bills or fines or stuff, then they usually, I found this out after, they would usually give you drinks on consignment, which means you would pay it on a monthly basis. So what he's done is he's ordered a shitload of drinks, made me give him my 50% of the money. He's made Peter give him his 25%, and then he's literally just fucked off. Literally just gone. Like 25 grand of my money, 10 grand of Peter's money, and he's literally just ducked. Now, had that had been like quits there, then okay, I could swallow that because we made money. You know, the money that was made from the drinks being sold in the club was in an account which me and Peter owned. So I wasn't worried about him in that. But the problem is that we had to pay off these guys. These guys have come for their money. And in their account, so suppose we owed them 25,000, for example. Because we just started 6 weeks ago in their account, a lot of the expenses were obviously taken out. We had to get new CCTV, that's 5,000. Fire extinguishers upgraded, that's another couple grand. You know, we had to get underwater heaters for the bathroom. You're talking about 5 grand because it's a huge club. So we've got probably about 3 grand left in that account. Yeah. So I've spoke with Peter now. I said, look, Peter, he's your guy. You should be responsible for him. He's just like, well, you know, I didn't know. I don't know why he would do stuff like this. He said, look, I'll be honest with you, mate. I'm not going to be able to help you out with this bill. So then I'm like, what? So I've got to pay this 25 grand all by myself. He's like, look, if you, I'm happy for you to pay it off. Just give me like, you know, XYZ amount, which was a lot smaller than his percentage was worth. And you can just take 100% of the club. I was like, yeah, in principle, that sounds amazing. But where the am I going to get this sort of money? Bearing in mind, I've just put 90% of my income to get this place. I had to go find another 20,000 to fix up all these problems. I've had to find more money to buy these drinks. So like, I'm stretched. Cut a long story short, sat down with the guys. We rounded it off to like 18,000. Paid them that across 2 payments of 9,000 a piece. And I'm like, cool, we've got a relationship. They respected me for doing that as well. So it didn't hurt the business. And the reason why I didn't just fob them off and be like, well, it weren't me, is because the company was in all of our names. So and the company held the license as well for the club and the lease, and it just would have been messy. You don't want to be blacklisted from any industry. But obviously, when I've moved from Function and got my new club, it would have affected me if people are like, well, that company, that owner, he doesn't pay his bills. It just would travel with you. It's not worth it. So sorted that out. Good. I kid you not. The day after we sorted that out, it took us about 3 weeks to sort it out. Yeah, the day after, I've shaken the guy's hand, and he's like, okay, we put that behind us. There's another man at the front door telling me that he is owed money for beer dispensers that were ordered by a guy called Joseph. And I'm like, for fuck's sake. And they come up to 9,000. So there was like 4 dispensers, but what also, you know, pushed up the cost was the fact that he ordered crates of beer with him, and those beers were nowhere to be seen. So I told the guys, look, you can take the dispensers, which knocked a couple grand off, but there was still 6 grand owing. So I had to pay that. So you're talking about a 30 grand loss in the initial stages. But obviously I've had the club for 2 years. You know, that money was made back fairly quickly. So things are in the green, things are profiting. But if you're talking about a singular loss, I would say, yeah, that period was, and it was eye-opening for me as well. You learn by your losses. I could never get tricked like that again. I've got good relationships with the drink companies now. They've followed me through to my next project that I'm about to open as well. So yeah, you just can't judge a book by its cover. He looked like a cool guy. He came through a trusted source. But I hope you enjoyed the story. Well, it's true life. We could call it a story. But make sure you look on to the next episode of 100K Net. It's your boy Moonlight. And I want to make sure you guys are working towards your dreams. I want to make sure that you guys are working towards some form of success. Anything that you call success. And on this page, I'm going to be making sure that you guys, you are on job. You better be on point. I'm going to be checking out So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's your boy Moonlight, and you're locked onto 100K Net. This is the business show, and we're going to keep it fun. I'm going to give you a load of stories about my business over the last 20 years, okay? 20 years worth of information will be in the book called 100K Net as well. So make sure you pre-order the book. I've got, telling you, there's just too much in it. Anyway, till next time, I'm out.